our Law and Justice segment tonight. America's toughest sheriff is now responding to the possibility of being pardoned by President Donald Trump. Sheriff Joe Arpaio of Arizona, who was convicted of contempt of court for failing to follow a judge's orders to stop his immigration patrols, said he'd accept that pardon if it was given to him. Watch.
I didn't ask for it. I appreciate his offer, and of course I will accept because I didn't do anything wrong. I'm not guilty of these misdemeanor charges, so I've been with him for day one, if you remember, back in July 2015. I have great confidence and respect and love for the man. It has nothing to do with his pardon that may be coming up, but I do appreciate it, and I'll be supporting the president and help him any way if he needs help or whatever. And when I help somebody, like all those people I endorse, I don't expect anything in return. I do it for the good of the country and how I believe the person. So I don't expect anything in return from the president. But I think he understands that this is a travesty, and he's just trying to correct it. He's doing the right thing, and he has the courage and the guts to do it.
Now his attorney is working on getting him a new trial and another one to get him acquitted. So what exactly got the sheriff into this mess in the first place? I thought he was just the one enforcing the law, not breaking it. With me now, attorney and reporter for the Washington Times, Alex Hoyer. Alex, Arpaio was found guilty for basically enforcing existing immigration law, and this is according to the National Center for Police Defense. They're standing behind him. They're calling this a travesty of justice. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think that there's definitely different viewpoints on each side. You had the law enforcement side having his back, and then the ACLU recently came out and said that if the president were to pardon the sheriff, it would be a endorsement of racism. See, they're saying that he was stereotyping and having his patrol officers arrest and question Hispanics based on the idea that they were in the country illegally rather than having, broken some sort of other crime prior to finding out their documentation.
Yeah, I was trying to figure that out. So are there real examples of this? When I'm from Arizona and I lived in Phoenix, and I know Sheriff Arpaio, I am half Mexican, so I never had this fear that I was going to be pulled over for being tan. But there was a fear in the community, mostly inspired by the media, who were, labeling this sheriff as a racist via, all these groups that were open border groups that were suggesting that that was the case. Now, so were there actual instances or examples of Sheriff Arpaio just pulling somebody over because they're brown and then asking for their documentation?
The things that we've seen in reports is that he was doing things during this investigation that led there to believe that there were some instructions that he had given to his patrolmen to ignore the orders and to go ahead and do that. Now, I'm not sure the details of what's in each complaint and the answer. However, what previously happened, it was a judge that found him guilty. So what his attorneys are doing now is they are appealing and wanting a jury trial. So what I found interesting that you just said was kind of the feeling within the not only area that he lived in, but also statewide. I found a poll of taken of Arizona residents and their opinion of the sheriff. And I think the most recent one showed that 54% did not have a favorable opinion. So I'm not sure, if there is a jury that has his next trial, or if he were to get an appeal and get a jury trial, I think that it would be interesting to see if there would be any difference between what a jury verdict says and what the judge found.
So I think that there's question here because obviously racial profiling is illegal, but we also have laws in the books, and being here as an illegal immigrant without documentation, that's illegal. You're breaking our laws. So I'm just curious. So is there a difference between racial profiling and going after people that are breaking the law?
There is a difference between racial profiling. Obviously, I think it across each state and federally, it's a civil rights violation, and that's initially back. I think the problem began, or the question began, back in 2007, 2008. So that was when President Obama was in office, and it continued in these legal battles all the way through, I believe it was 2016, when President Obama was still in office under his DOJ, that launched this civil rights investigation, and that's initially how this all came to be.
And, I just have questions. So would he actually qualify for a presidential pardon?
Yeah, actually, Article 2, Section 2 of the Constitution is what details the presidential pardon and that power. It's very, very broad. Basically, the only restriction is that it has to be a crime against the United States, so it can't be like a civil or a state issue. And since we're dealing with immigration law, it is a federal crime, and so that would be applicable. And the other restriction is that you can't really give a pardon before the crime is committed, because then basically the president would be doing away with the law. But as soon as someone's convicted of a crime, or even after they've served their sentence, a person can be pardoned by a president. And what the sheriff is looking at right now, I think it's October 5th is when he would be sentenced, and he's looking at a maximum of 6 months in jail or a fine. I think I'm a Texas licensed attorney and not Arizona, but I looked around, and I think the maximum fine for a misdemeanor in Arizona is around $2,500.
Yeah, I think it was a 6-month sentence, possibly that fee. And that poll that you cited, I just don't trust polls a lot. And the fact that he was the sheriff for almost 25 years in Arizona, and most of the people that I know really liked him, except for the people that were open border, illegal immigrant activists. So I do think it's a travesty of justice, and I hope that, the president will have an opportunity to pardon him if it gets to that point. Thanks for your insight, Alex. All right, we've got a good one for you next. We'll hear from the other side about the future of the Democrat Party. It's really drifting left, but will that win them elections? I don't think so. Don't go anywhere.